English or Czenglish first appeared in the dying days of communist Czechoslovakia. In September 1989, it appeared in this format, 10,000 copies, sold out on the first day. Immediately it was reprinted, 100,000 copies, and they disappeared very quickly as well. Over the years, people used to come up to me and ask if I was going to produce a reprint. And I said, yes, sure, sometime. But in fact, I was no longer teaching English at the Department of English and American Studies of Masaryk University, and I didn't know what kind of mistakes people were making now when they were learning English. But then in 2020, the 100th anniversary of the English department was approaching, and with a couple of colleagues from the department, we decided it would be a good idea to prepare a new version. In fact, the book had been living its own life over the past 30 years. It had been used in courses in the English department. Various people had contributed to it. And these two colleagues of mine, Simona Kalová and Rance, had introduced a special course on Czenglish, which was, in fact, one of the most popular courses in the department. So eventually, earlier this year, the book appeared in this new and much more attractive version. What are the differences? What are the changes? Well, first of all, it's in English. The previous version had the explanations for the mistakes in Czech. We decided on English simply because the level of English in the country as a whole has risen considerably in the last 30 years. A second difference, which may seem counterintuitive, is that the new edition doesn't contain examples of Czenglish, of bad usage. And the reason for this is we learned from various experts that unfortunately when you do this, the bad examples tend to stick in students' minds rather than the correct examples. So instead we explain in English why these mistakes exist, what they are, and how they should be corrected. There are a lot of improvements to the book as well. One thing is that it really describes contemporary English. In the first edition, I unfortunately had very few resources back in the communist years. I had to more or less depend on my intuition. Nowadays, there are these online corpora with millions of examples of the usage of words and phrases, which enabled us to determine which was best. In many cases, surprisingly, both Chris, who's English, and I, who'm Canadian, were wrong. We thought the usage was X, and it turned out to be Y. So it's very up-to-date and much, much more correct. Another improvement is there are several indexes for various things. For instance, whether it's a colloquial or a literary word, whether it's British English, American English, these kind of things, which enable the learners to choose areas that they might want to improve their English in. A third thing that I think is a very big improvement is there's a short glossary, very brief explanation of grammatical terms, which helps clarify the explanations so that students can easily understand why something is wrong. And the fourth thing, I think, is that it's more fun. And this is because over the years, students have added many examples taken from a wide variety of sources, from literature, from magazines, from newspapers, from TV shows, from popular songs, from The Simpsons, for instance. So there's a lot of pleasure just even reading the examples of these proper usage of words and phrases in English. Who is it intended for? Basically for anyone beyond a basic knowledge of English. Some of the points we make in the book are fairly sophisticated, I would say. Some are simpler. So there's a wide range of readers that could benefit from the book. And of course, they can benefit from it over the years as their language gets better. It's not meant to be read from cover to cover. It's meant to be consulted if a person has got a problem or wants to know, should I use this or this? You can look it up and see what the proper usage is. Or it can be used for bedtime reading. Put it on the table beside your bed, and as you go to sleep, read 2 or 3 entries perhaps, fall asleep, and then hopefully you'll have pleasant dreams in real English.